my name's Mariah and welcome to Wealthy Boss. Today I have a special post-run recovery yoga routine for you. These are some of my favorite yoga poses that I did after my long runs while marathon training for 2 marathons. And I'm happy to report that I got through both races injury-free. And to me, that was really important to make sure that I could keep my body doing what I love for years to come. And I really attribute these yoga poses to a big portion of that. So we'll be focusing a lot today on hamstrings, quads, our low back, which takes kind of a pounding, hitting that pavement over and over. We'll get into our IT bands, our feet, and a little bit of our shoulders, our levator scapula that can get a little bit fatigued when pumping those arms and holding them up. So get ready to unwind and recover from your hard work. Let's get started.
Finding our way seated at the center of our mat, we're going to be coming into burning logs. Now, if you're feeling too tight in your quadriceps or you have any type of ache at all in your knees, this can always be adjusted to be at a simple cross-legged position. But for the full version, we're stacking ankle right above knee and knee right above ankle. Both sitting bones are on the earth, please. And you're going to wrap that right hand behind you, coming up into a long arm behind you to prop yourself up. I like to take my fingertips and put them into like a shape of a tent so that I come up and sit really tall. Wrapping left hand now across the right knee. I'm going to sit up nice and tall and take a twist in with this burning log. So we're releasing into the piriformis. So we find rotation of the spine. Because running is such a forward movement, we want to make sure that we balance out the back by moving it side to side and in rotation. This will help keep the back balanced. Breathing deeply into it. Every inhale is going to lift you up a little higher. Every exhale will twist you a little bit deeper. Now releasing hold of the twist, staying just as long in the spine, let's start to walk both hands forward and hinge forward from the hips until you feel a nice gentle pull along the right side of the seat. Now it may not take very much at all. You might even feel plenty just staying upright. So really listen to your body. We're going to be here for several deep breaths. So you might find after several inhalations and exhalations, the body's ready to open up and release a little bit deeper. Particularly if you just got back from a run, it's probably feeling extra tight. So give it some time here to relax. Keep sending those sitting bones down towards the earth. Hips are heavy. Thinking about those hips, thanking them for all that they did for you today on that long run. And let's press up into a seated position. Whatever leg is on top, we're going to unwind now so that leg becomes the bottom leg. And that's true even if you're just sitting in cross-legged position. You would just cross so that the bottom leg is tucked underneath the top. Finding our twist here, left arm comes behind you, maybe propping yourself up on fingertips so you can get really tall in the spine, and then wrapping a right hand across left knee. Let's take it into that twist. Deepening into your inhales and exhales. And then start to unwind your way back towards center and we'll take it into a forward fold if you need to go deeper into this pose. You may not, you may get plenty just staying here upright, and that's great. Please remember, if you are bending forward, to keep the back nice and long. Posture is so important for running, so we really want to get in the habit of having that nice long spine. Checking in with that breath, making it silky smooth, long and luxurious. Mentally and emotionally releasing any criticism you might have had about your run. And sending those thoughts, those analytical thoughts of critique or any feelings of fatigue, just releasing those as you release into this forward fold. Good. Gently, slowly walk your hands in until you come upright again. Making our way into garland pose or malasana. This is fabulous hip opener as well as a deep release into the low back. Now again, depending on how tight you might be feeling, this could be a little bit intense. So have a block nearby just in case you're going to need it. We're taking the toes wider than the heels, and I'd really like you to play around with what the proper positioning is of the feet. So you'll notice a big difference in how comfortable this does or doesn't feel based on two things. Based on how wide the heels are or are not from each other, and how far open the toes are turned out. So I want you to just wiggle around and experiment with both of those elements of your feet placement until you find something that feels nice on the knees and like a great release in the hips and low back. If sinking those hips all the way down, so the tailbone is way below the knees coming towards the earth, if that feels way too intense, like your muscles are having to kind of grip to protect yourself, then that's just an indicator that a block would be beneficial for you. So you can take a block either on the lowest or the middle setting and just wedge it right underneath your tailbone so that it's taking some of the weight off, and just kind of prop yourself up onto it. Once you've found that comfy version, either with or without the block, I'd like you to take your hands into your heart center and then press your elbows inside your thighs. The more that you press your hands together and draw the hands in towards the heart, the more you're going to release and open into that external rotation of the hips, and the more you'll get out of this stretch. So again, settling into that calm, steady breath, oxygenating all of those tissues, releasing inflammation just through the simple act of breathing and coming into stillness, healing the body from the hard work you just did. Nice. Now whenever you're ready, we're going to come to sit on the heels, and then I'm going to turn around to face to the side so you can see. I'm spreading my toes wide, and you can even like pick up the pinky toes if they're not wanting to tuck underneath you, tucking those toes, and then coming to sit back on the heels. This can be super intense for anywhere more than a few seconds, especially after you've been running, because your feet muscles get so tight. Our feet are so important to us in all of life, but particularly in running. We want to make sure that we're really honoring them and paying attention to the muscles that become contracted in our feet. So you can come in and out of this. This can be really intense. Make sure you're finding some nice deep breath, please. You can also place a pillow between your heels and your seat. That can help alleviate some of the pressure if that ever gets to be too much. Good. So sending your feet some love, imagining all those steps they took you through today. Imagining how many times they struck the ground, and now just thanking them, sending them love, sending them healing. And let's come out of that. You're probably not sad to come out of that one. This next one will feel nice. We're heading into our child's pose. I invite you to take the knees as wide as they'll go. And so we can also get some bonus work into the shoulders. The levator scapula, I have to work really hard when we're running to keep those arms pumping and elbows lifted. So I'm going to invite you to take the elbows to the ground and actively press the elbows down as you take the hands together into the shape of a prayer. From here, depending on how tight the shoulders are, continuing to press hands inward towards each other, could you start to work the whole shape of the prayer hands in towards the back of your head as you bend those elbows. Good, so you'll feel deep opening here in the shoulders, into the chest. Whew, this is like pure magic for all that repetitive motion of swinging your arms back and forth. Again, breathing into any intensity here. You can always decrease the intensity if needed by lowering the angle of those hands a little bit closer to the ground. And let's gently press up. You're going to take the right foot forward. And if you need to double up, you can either place a pillow or you can double up your mat underneath that back knee to help cushion and protect that knee. You're going to come pretty far forward so that your back hip is further forward than your left knee. So there's more than a 90-degree angle of the back knee. And then that front leg, you're checking in to make sure that that right knee comes right on top of the right ankle. You don't want to come any further forward than that. So wedge that front heel a little bit closer to the mat if you need to. And then from here, if it feels okay, you can take both hands to the thigh. If this feels pretty intense on the hip flexor, just take that block and place it right inside that hip. You can take a long arm to it. You could either have it on the highest setting or any setting that you choose. But do try to think about your posture here, staying open. Sinking into that psoas. Good, so good for the front of your hip. Now let's take both hands to the inside of the foot. So again, if the ground feels a little too far away from you, you can still utilize that block. Maybe at this point you take it down to a lower setting. But we are going to roll into the outer edge of that right foot. So the inner edge of the foot lifts off the ground, which may feel like you've taken a little bit of the intensity out of the left hip flexor. From here you can stay long, or if it's available to you with a nice straight back, long spine, you can start to fold forward onto your elbows, releasing deeply into the outer edges of the hips this time. Good, now stay here, or if you're wanting a little bit more for the quads and hip flexor, bend into that back leg. Now, if it's available, let's reach around and grab hold of that foot. Now, this should come naturally. If it doesn't, I don't want you kicking or swinging because that could be a little bit too intense. We want to have silky smooth movements here, and if that's not available to you, no worries. You could also thread a strap over the top of that foot and hold on to the strap with your hands. Good, let's gently unwind from that. Set that back shin down. Good, and then let's just walk our way back into a seated shape. However you'd like to get there, just take it nice and slow. This is a pretty intense stretch, so our muscles are a little bit more vulnerable. We want to move slowly to the other side. We're coming into that forward lunge. So again, checking that back knee, the right knee, is quite a bit further behind the right hip, so more than a 90-degree angle. We are looking for a 90-degree angle with the left leg, so knee right above ankle. You can use that block there if you need. We're staying open in the chest here, checking with that posture. Good posture will help us have better form when running and run faster. Good, and then taking hands to the inside of that leg, we're going to shift the knee over to the outside edge of the mat, lifting the inner edge of the foot off the mat, either coming onto the lower setting of a block or all the way down into the ground, or even onto elbows if that feels nice. Letting it all go. And then if you took the twist on the other side, now's the time to bend into that back knee, reaching around for the foot. Again, don't force it. There's plenty of time to find this shape in the future, the more that we practice. Good, releasing out of that, please. We're gonna come all the way down onto our back. Take your time to get there. And hug the knees in towards the chest. Now we're releasing into the back here, which takes a lot of pounding whenever we do repetitive movements like running. So we wanna make sure that we're sending the tailbone long. So as you draw the knees in, the tailbone naturally wants to peel up off the mat. We're going to use just a little bit of mid-back strength to send that tailbone back down so that we can create more space between the vertebrae. This is so good for creating that optimal health between the vertebrae. Keep hugging inward, sending tailbone downward. And then sending those feet back down to the mat, making our way into a supported bridge shape. This is one of my absolute all-time favorite shapes. This is one that I did over and over and over during all of my marathon training. So you can set that block at any setting. I prefer the tallest setting, but it just depends on how tight your back is feeling. The middle setting may feel more appropriate for you. Do make sure that the bottom base of that block is really secure so you're not going to fall off of it. And it's pretty low, so it's lower than the arch of the back. It's more along the sacrum, the tailbone. So just taking a few moments here. So this is just taking that decompression of the spine, which we did in the posture before, to a whole new level. It's building on, creating even more space and traction now between the vertebrae. Good, let's gently lift the hips up off that block. We're going to work our way over to the wall. So if you need to move, you're just going to come to sit really close next to a wall sideways. Bend into the knees, swing those legs up under the wall, and then you might just have to scooch a little bit so that tailbone comes all the way to the seam where the floor meets the wall. Good. From there, send those legs nice and high. This is one of the best ways to reinvigorate the legs, as well as ensure that you are protecting your immune system. Especially if you're doing marathon training and you did a long run, if you're getting up there in your mileage, then you're putting yourself at risk through all that sustained cardiovascular activity. You do run the risk of compromising your immune system. Making sure that we include inversions on a regular basis as part of our training plan, where our legs are higher than our heart, is an excellent way to stimulate the body's lymphatic system. And this also feels really good by reversing the flow of circulation to your legs. So it will refresh and energize the legs. So it's one of my favorite training tools, especially when doing endurance running. Good. Now feel free to stay here, or if you'd like to end with a final stretch for the piriformis, the hips, then you can start to walk that left leg a little bit higher along the wall, and the right leg is going to come so that the ankle crosses over the left thigh. You may need to raise your hips in order to get this to happen, and then send the hips back down. From there, you're going to work that left leg as low, or that left foot as low onto the wall as you can comfortably feel. Both sitting bones still down on the ground. Breathing deeply. If you feel an urge to hold your breath, make sure that you're opening the gateway for that breath to come in and repair the body, repair those tight muscles. Good, we'll release out of that and take it over to the other side. Noticing if one side feels any tighter than the other, that can be a great thing to make note of if perhaps you favor one side over the other in your gait. Just taking this time to become clued in and aware of what your body is doing throughout your training practice. And then gently release out of that. Letting both knees fall over to one side. Just press yourself up into seated. I hope this was the perfect ending to your long run recovery. I am so proud of you for the work that you're doing in training for a race, or if you're just training for life and long distance running is a part of your everyday life. I know that you're cut from a different cloth. You have what it takes to put in the time and the effort to achieve a goal. So I'm so proud of you for this. Make sure you continuously invest in yourself, your body, and your practice so that you can keep doing what you love. Namaste.
And don't forget, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. I release new barre, Pilates, and yoga workouts every single week. So don't forget to hit that like button if you like this video and subscribe for more updates.